5 weeks here of the QPL.
I think that's a sign of him not feeling entirely confident as well. Like when we think back to his QuakeCon performances, it was the reverse, right? It was, I'm going to just, this game's over in 5 minutes and then I can enjoy it. But we'll see what he comes out with. And I think one of the reasons I really like watching these two players in particular is because they're just so positive, both in their outlook and their personalities, but also in their philosophies. Like they play Quake on the front foot. They want to take the game forward. And that always sets it up for an entertaining match. But we'll see as we're on vengeur's POV. He's wearing his hat today, looking stylish, with the high ground and the new skin as well, as that is vibrant.
That LG, it feels powerful, man. I like it. I like it. And I do think, like, look at this first 30 seconds. Like, this is a little bit slower. We're going to have the first fight here over near the heavy. Quickest. Oh! What, I am not even sure what was happening as I switched between views there. I saw vengeurR on the retreat, and then I just saw maxter implode. What?
The 180 rocket catching maxter in the face, but he does pick it up as already fairly even on stack, exchanging rails as well. And this is the one big thing that vengeurR needs to contend with. There's very few players in the world where vengeurR struggles to go toe-to-toe with aim, but maxter is one of them. And that's, if your usual strategy is being absorbed, how do you counter that? But at the moment, he's got the position, he's closing in the gap, he's got himself a 3-0 lead, but we also know the snowball potential on this particular map from maxter is strong. So vengeurR won't want to give up any needless frags.
I do think vengeurR, started off kind of slow, steady, sort of figuring out maxter, I guess, if you will. But then after that, almost a meticulous dissection of spawns right there, netting 2 additional conversion frags off of that first one, but has slowed it back down again.
Yeah.
I like what you said earlier about confidence, because that is absolutely a big part of Quake, especially when you're playing against players of these calibers. 2 big rails coming out here by vengeurR, and he is going to back off just a little bit, but sets himself up for the heavy, does grab it. maxter incredibly low, and could see a follow-up happen right here. The rocket down below, but it hits the wall. No splash damage to be found. No armor stack here for vengeurR, which means that he's going to need to be careful. He does hit another rail, but they exchange, and now the retreat. Will the grapple help him get there? The Mega's up. I don't think he can go for it, as maxter is there waiting for it, and it's a cat and mouse game, but he will just retreat back and go back to the heavy.
Yeah, maxter's bullied his way into this map, but at this point in time, hasn't been able to convert that into any sort of frag. And vengeurR, with that rail, will retain his position up on the high ground. He'll retain his advantage. But you can see what Max is trying to do. He's trying to force these fights out of vengeurR. But vengeurR at this point in time is doing a good job of dodging around the map, taking them on his terms, not succumbing to the pressure of maxter. And that will only build his confidence, as you just referred to. Nice pickup from maxter just before that Mega as well. But vengeurR more than happy to retreat onto the heavy.
Yeah, it was a nice little juke there by maxter, hiding behind the column and then landing the rail as soon as vengeurR turned his back. Some tri-bolt coming out as well, and that's what maxter needs to do, right? Knowing that vengeur's going to favor that middle area, use as much as he can to just try to dish out damage. Nice. But vengeurR, great defense here in the middle. Some rockets and a couple of rails, going to continue to fire down rockets. And this has to be somewhat frustrating for maxter, right? Like, how does he break through that defense? And that's exactly what he needs to do right there. Some good splash damage with the rocket. vengeur's going to immediately go for that heavy, and it's almost like a reset. It starts all over. Now, maxter, though, with no armor stack at all. Oh, that rocket, he just narrowly gets missed with that. And these two are throwing out some real nice rails.
And what's really interesting for me is just how much respect vengeur's having for maxter, because he's been the one actually doing more and more damage to maxter, but you can see he's not been able and not willing to take any sort of a positive move. Maxter's aggression is really keeping vengeurR on the back foot. And this time maxter has managed to skirt his way onto the heavy, but the Mega was still up for vengeurR, and he's got himself back around to the other side of the map where he feels at home. And neither one of these players has been able to convert a frag ever since those opening engagements.
We might have another exchange right here, as maxter still kind of low, does grab a couple bubbles to put himself back. vengeurR really needs that heavy. And I think that is going to be key here for him, is to try to control this as much as he can. Because we're going to have vengeurR heading back over to the Mega now. Now, I mean, unfortunately, there's not much of a gap between those two major items. And I think vengeurR is looking for that as a possibility. But maxter, again, doing a great job. Head game for sure when it comes to his fight here versus vengeurR. So another fight over the heavy, and is he going to switch spots and then go for the mega? It looks like that's exactly what he's going to do. Maybe even delay a little bit. No, I don't think he's going to even have the opportunity to.
No, and it's actually favoring vengeurR that there's no split here, because you can see Max is actually getting the one up on all of these fights. It's the fact that there's these major items that's keeping vengeurR in the game. He's just using the Athena to evade maxter. There's absolutely no intent to extend his lead. He's hoping, if anything, maxter pushes on and is too aggressive. But oh my god!
Patience. That was big, big patience there. Unfortunately, vengeurR eats not one, not two, but all three of the payloads from that tri-bolt, and now vengeurR looking to be at danger here of getting converted by maxter. Maxter really low with some defensive shots fired out by vengeurR, and I don't know if vengeurR's going to be able to net another frag off of that one, but he certainly stopped that chase a little bit. Tries to land a rail through the wooden boards, and it does not work out for him. And now it seems like they are pretty much just switching spots here. vengeurR now having to play a little bit more defensive as he tries to go for that mega. He is up the jump pad and then grapples to safety. But that one frag by maxter is actually going to end up being incredibly huge in terms of him just staying in and not letting vengeurR get any level of comfort that would allow him to either get that lead up higher or big LG battle here. Oh my, they trade. I thought that vengeurR was going to win that one, and he kind of did, but maxter from the grave, still a 2-frag game.
Yeah, this is huge. vengeurR got the spawn as well, so even though he doesn't get the item, he can definitely pressure maxter here, and he does. He picks up that extension frag, so he was fortunate, but it worked out for vengeurR. The question is, can he hold on now? He wants to get the conversion once again, as we did off the start.
Oh.
Big rail from maxter, but it's not enough as the LG to rocket is there. And now we have a 4-frag game. vengeurR has built himself a decent lead with 2.5 minutes to go.
Oh,
what?
My God, what a read. I think he actually heard the grapple and turned around and just flipped for the rail. And now it's still going to be a 3-frag game within reach for sure. maxter has a beastie stack and is going to make his way over. Does catch a glimpse of vengeurR going through the heavy area and now heading on over to the mega. Now there is a lot more time between these two major items than there was before, but 2 rails from vengeurR, and suddenly maxter's stack is all but gone, and that's not going to be super great for him as he gets ready for these final 2 minutes where he really must make a move. He gets hit with another rail from vengeurR from down below. And just real quickly, vengeurR shooting a 47% rail with 1,500 LG with the 1,500 damage. And I absolutely believe that his LG has been one of the big, it's his right hand in this matchup, basically.
Yeah. Catching maxter off guard again, and there you go. He's been absolutely melted. That should win him the game as he nets another frag. But the big mistake for me is after that amazing work by maxter to get that frag, he got a little bit greedy. He tried to chase vengeurR around the map, and you're chasing an Athena with 3 grapples. You're not going to really win that fight. And because of that, vengeurR hit a couple of rails back to back and got himself some map control and should have the advantage now to see himself out. Whoa, okay.
Wow, the like 100 LG damage, and then the grapple to escape, but then the re-engage from vengeurR only to be met by a rail from maxter. Like you never like to see it go down that way. But 3 frags, obviously vengeur's like, all right, I better be pretty careful here, and he is just essentially jumping backwards with the railgun out, ready to fire. There's one shot. And that is the best that he can do. It's probably going to help him stay away from another potential frag. Can't believe he got away from that one with 5 points of health, but there it is. vengeurR does manage to get that frag, and with 30 seconds left, vengeurR still needs to be careful here. Like, he has not won this, but the huge rocket exchange, vengeurR takes that one, and now he will just go into the corner and shell up. for the first map victory.
Absolutely. If maxter got a frag there, highly likely he can get a conversion on this map, but you have to say, right, the respect for Wenger was huge. He didn't feel confident at all to make any sort of moves in this map. He's almost fortunate to get such an early lead because that's exactly what he needed to finish the game. So credit to maxter to staying in it. It was a frustrating game, as you pointed out, in the mid game where he just couldn't even touch his opponent with a glove. And it was close at the end. It could have gone either way.
It really could have, and I think goes to show that predictions were pretty solid both ways, right? Like maxter absolutely in a couple of different instances, like he was hitting his shots, he had good strategy. I think the only part that he really struggled with was his inability to kind of crack that shell in the middle that Wenger had set up, that barrier in the upper level. Played it really well, even when he did kind of deviate from playing that area, was able to get right back to them pretty quickly with the grapple. And using that first frag was just absolutely gorgeous. Like, I can't even believe it. And that tri-bolt was something else too. So both players just showing, you know, hey, we're here to play. Wenger comes out a little bit on top with a 3-frag lead over his opponent, but who knows what might happen here in the next 2 maps.
For sure. And again, that's just not the Wenger we're used to seeing. We're way more used to seeing him being in your face and aggressive, but that's just the respect and the way you have to play against maxter. So full credit for maxter to being as good as he is to force that out of Wenger, and full credit for Wenger to having that adaptation. But you even saw the frag he got back into the game with, that tri-bolt came from a situation where he wasn't even able to see his opponent, just having to guess, use the tri-bolt effectively and netted in that frag. But well played by Wenger, using the Athena on the defense. It's a hard task on a map like Deep Embrace when it's small and aggressive, so he had to be mentally astute for the full 10 minutes.
Yeah, look at that. I mean, it's amazing that most damage done by Wenger was either Rail or LG. You know, just it's pretty shocking. Not surprised about the LG. I think it makes a lot of sense on that map, especially considering that he was playing the middle. You get a conversion frag, right? A couple of places that you can really put a B to LG on your opponent and potentially convert. But I definitely makes me curious for what could happen here in our next map, which is going to be Awoken. maxter is going to be on the Ranger, and Wenger is going to be on the Strog. So mixing things up a little bit here. But, you know, we were talking about it last week about what is different between, say, the Wenger of last season and the Wenger of this season. We all did agree, just like what you said, that there was definitely something in terms of confidence. And part of that was seen because usually Wenger has this, like, swagger about him, right? You mentioned the aggression, but it's also, there's some style. Like, he frags, and when he plays, a lot of times it's in style. You're just like, where'd this kid come from? And we haven't seen that as much, which isn't a terrible thing, because at the end of the day, you play to win. It doesn't matter if you're stylish or if you're messy. As long as you win, that's what matters. And I don't know if this is kind of Wenger trying to kind of find himself as a player or what that is, but, you know, it's curious and interesting to watch nonetheless.
Yeah, and no matter what it is, it's going to help him mature as a champion, right? Like,
I agree.
You often say in traditional sports, like, it's often a sign of a championship team when they can kind of win when they're not playing well. They grind it out, and that's kind of where he's at in his career at this point. It's definitely not the best Quake we've seen from Wenger, but he's finding a way to win, and that's only going to make him better.
I completely agree. You know, there's always different mountains to climb when it comes to professional gaming, and Quake is absolutely no different. One season you can feel like you've got it all figured it out, and the next season it can, you know, things could be a little bit more shaky. So I think it just makes it more exciting across the board in terms of the games that we're seeing. And we are going to start things off here on Awoken in the first minute with a pretty slow set of engagement. Again, comes down to the respect of these two players, and it comes down to just how important that first frag can be for momentum. There's a few exchanges here. maxter knew that his opponent was likely covering that middle area. Rails do come out. Wenger lands that first one. He's going to retreat back, grab that mega. And so each side sort of taking a major item. But these rails from Wenger already showing some good defensive action here, as it's been most of his damage versus maxter. Wow.
Nice, yeah. And they almost nullify each other, which is why it ends up being a slightly more passive game when you see these two brutes going head-to-head, because they're both so effective with the angles with the rail. They are both quite hesitant to really make any aggressive moves, because they also know you're quite likely to be punished with either the rocket or the LG if you do make that move. So it becomes a game of cat and mouse, and much more of a game of chess than we see.
I mean, rail has definitely been really interesting in this game. We've got more fired out here. vengeur's taking his side, setting up for a possible heavy here as he's just made the rounds. Looking for a shot. There it is. And he has found so many of those ZSX, just anticipating him in the position he's in. There is another one. He's shooting a 60% rail. maxter's with the 66. It actually seems like it should be higher. But there it is.
And the thing you can't discount with these rails isn't necessarily the economical impact they do, which is obviously big. It's the psychological impact, you know, is that every time you go around a corner, you're eating a rail, you end up second guessing your strategy. And that's what we're seeing here. And that's what vengeur's done to maxter. Because of all these rails, maxter's having to play more and more defensive. But there we go. Big mistake coming out from vengeur to go aggressive. The orb comes out. We see the first frag of the game.
That orb was huge. Orb out, maxter grabbed the heavy, then just teleported right on top of the mega. I do think that vengeur knew exactly what was going on, but was like half a second behind maxter in terms of like the brain processing that, and it ended up being that first frag for maxter. Now, he was not able to convert, which for vengeur, real good. Both players again exchanging some sick rails, and that puts maxter very, very low, grabbing a couple bubbles, putting himself back up to 72 now. And then there's another one, and both players just kind of back off and disengage a little bit. So I really like this style that we're seeing here. Huge rail cross map from vengeur through that teleporter, and maxter's gonna have to figure out what his next plan of attack is gonna be.
Max is a little bit frustrated here because every single time he wants to do something, he's getting hit by rail after rail after rail, and they're always on even keel, always trading. So we're obviously picking up the shots from vengeur, but the plays from maxter are even bigger. As there we go, orb to shotgun. And this is the power of the ranger. Yes, there's a first peeker of the game, I think, as well, but the orb has that X factor, and that's what we're seeing from maxter. He's trapped down below, but he's taken the item and somehow taken the frag. Can he get this mega? Those vengeur's already there, so maxter has to retreat.
I mean, honestly, I still think maxter comes out of that so good. Losing the mega, it's like no big deal at all. So much there from the orb to shotgun combo. Like, that was pure map strategy right there. Knowing, like, I'm pretty sure my opponent is there. This is the best way to go about it. Now LG battle for another frag, and maxter throwing up the 4 frags before vengeur can even get on the board. So impressive what we're seeing here right now here from maxter.
Yeah, now he's got control of this rail as well, which has been the only weapon in the arsenal of vengeur that's had any sort of impact so far. The Pika comes out as well, but what's the goal there? There's nothing up for defending, and vengeur's way too early to be contested in his heavy. Not sure if he's lost a little bit of timing here as well, but already looking slightly desperate, if anything. He's got no rail to work with, no items. Fake rocket jump from maxter as well. This time vengeur should be winning this item, but he's taken a lot of damage in exchange for it, and now he can finally get a rail.
I mean, it's very reminiscent of kind of what we saw in game 1 from vengeur in terms of how he was controlling that middle, and now maxter getting an opportunity to do it. As you mentioned, him holding out on that rail was a big help there, but he is going to have to back off as finally that LG from vengeur comes out. Problem with is that, you know, vengeur not only needs to grab control, and he has an opportunity to do it right here. Orb coming back up, but it's just going to be a decoy as it allows maxter to escape. vengeur with very little armor stack, but the better health stack is going to move in, try to grab that heavy, and he does. There's a big opportunity for vengeur to finally get on the board there. He has another one with the rail hit, and maxter, once again, his map awareness is so good. Finally, vengeur's going to catch up to him, but a couple defensive rockets, and he stops him in his tracks.
Yeah, not sure why Max is looking a little bit rattled, but on the scoreline, he should be feeling decent enough anyway. Oh, Pika does a lot of damage there. Wenger knows it. 2 seconds to go before this heavy. His maxter going to risk it. He can rocket jump straight back out, which he does to get away from Wenger. Now Wenger's feeling the same pain that maxter felt in map 1, which is how on earth do I catch my opponent?
Yep, that's exactly right. It's a role reversal in the biggest way here. I think the bigger difference being the face more. So there's a lot of little tricks and teleporters that you can use here to, make it even harder to get chased down. And great patience by maxter as he once again waits for that rail, and then the orb over to the mega. He's going in for the attack. Waits outside the teleporter. Is not going to get an exit frag on that one. But what a nice grab and escape yet again.
That was almost so nice. Constantly on the run. Wenger did not expect double back on the aggression there. Really nice by maxter to buy enough time to steal that item away. He's playing on another level at this point in time, and you can see Wenger unable to find a way in, unable to trick his opponent, trap his opponent. He's trying so damn hard, but once again, maxter doubles back to pick up another item, and this is all he needs to do. Trade, take the high ground, hit the rail through the TP, just misses that one. But he's in such a strong position, there's not much Wenger can do to penetrate this. He even tries to go up the jump pad, which is foolhardy. And that might be the end of any sort of aggression, any sort of comeback, as Wenger living with nothing to work with.
Oh, it's so juicy. It's what I like to see. 2 minutes left, 5th frag for maxter. And I don't even know if I can tell you the last time that I saw Wenger in a match with a 0.
Yeah,
so
what's really interesting is from maxter's POV, when does he look to any sort of pressure? Wenger can't find an in, and he's the one playing a strong. Super fast, super tricky. Might be the time, but there you go. Maxter standing his ground. He can just rocket jump away if he needs to, and that's exactly what he's going to do. Minute and 20 seconds to go, Wheat. Can Wenger even get a frag in that time?
Oh, there it is.
There you go.
There it is. I mean, well, he's going to try to go for another one. We got an orb coming out immediately, and just kind of breaking that down a little bit. There was a part of me that was thinking, gosh, what a great set of momentum to have going into the 3rd game with possibly shutting your opponent out in map 2. Like, that'd be pretty good. So, honestly, Wenger getting that single frag, I think that was a pretty big deal going into map 3, believe it or not. Like, maxter's not in any danger that he is going to lose this matchup. As you can see, here is the chase coming out from Wenger. He's trying everything he can. He does hit that rail, resulting in a suicide, going to put it down to a 1-4 game. But low scoring here on Awoken. Still an incredibly interesting game. There we're going to have the old switcheroo with the orb. And the final 20 seconds of this matchup is going to be maxter, mostly just trying to defend away. Oh, big LG. The bells are going off, man. As there's that 5th frag is back for maxter in the final 10 seconds. Maxter's going to grab it. We're going to be tied up in this series. A very low scoring game. But I think one of the biggest takeaways is like Wenger getting on the positives, probably a big deal. More importantly, maxter played an impeccable, really flawless game there.
Yeah. Almost an identical matchup to map 1, just reversed as we talked about. And, I was hyping the intro to think of these two Titans going head to head, but what's happened is they're nullifying each other. There's just, there's so much respect. They're not stupid enough to be overcommitting, and because they're each doing significant damage through railing, through spam, no one can make a move. And so that's why we're seeing such a stalemate at each one at a time, and it comes down to who can outmaneuver each other. And we saw sparingly that eventually it was maxter. And ever since he got the lead, no cracks in that armor whatsoever.
Yeah, none at all. And I like what you say about sort of the nullification between these two, because it's kind of exactly what has happened. Now, this is we're going like saving the best for last here, because we're going to Ruins, and it's going to be Wenger on the Scale and maxter on the Anarchy. And I don't know how to even call this one.
I know
it's
man.
Scary. It's scary.
It can go both ways, right? If maxter plays smart and uses the speed and the maneuverability of the Anarchy, he can actually make Scalebearer's life a misery, because you're a big target. You're quick, but you're not as quick as an Anarchy, and the Anarchy has the inject as well. And you're playing a map where it's pretty difficult to maximize the utility of the bull rush. So you could definitely dismantle it. At the same time, if you meet Anarchy in a choke point, he can disappear very quickly as well.
Yeah.
So if maxter can play the rail game, if he can keep maxter at a distance. If he can keep vengeurR at a distance, he will win this. If vengeurR finds a way to engage in choke points, engage down by the heavy, and really bring it into more of a brawl, he should win this. It really depends on who is able to force their game and their initiative.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's fascinating is that the middle control is going to end up dictating the victor of all three of these maps, right? We saw vengeurR with his control in the middle on Deep Embrace. We saw then maxter do the same thing on Awoken. If we're talking about middle control, though, I do give a few extra points to scale, right? Don't necessarily need that mobility, but it also means that vengeurR needs to be hitting his rails, that he needs to making the smart decisions on when to extend himself and when to be back there. But as you said, Anarchy's got kind of the full circle of the map to probably deal with that. So if maxter can land those rails, it is absolutely still very much possible. So this is it's still a toss-up, but I love the dynamic and really just how polar opposites these two seem to be in terms of their champions, yet I still think either one has the potential to take it.
Yeah, this is not a given either way, shape or form. And then you put it out perfectly. The challenge is, as the Anarchy, can you make sure you pressure those items? If you begin to forfeit them, if you get bullied off them, if you get scared or whatever it is, if you begin to forfeit that control, that's when the game will start to slip away from you, because the conversion potential is just so huge. Whereas the scale, if you can then find that balance of not overcommitting and not just steamroll through, take an item and take 200 damage in return, if you could do it safely and calculated, that's where you have a bit of an advantage. So we'll have to see. It's slightly easier to execute perfectly as a scale barrier, but I would say the higher potential if you do well as an Anarchy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. And just taking a look at the predictions from chat, chat still has vengeurR with about 577,000 Quake points to maxter's 135,000 Quake points, and that's actually a little bit larger gap than I would expect given what we've watched here in the last few games. And I also have to note, we see maxter with 5 frags on each one. Same thing happened with Zanaku versus Rafa, where he only was able to get 4 frags in his 3 maps. So I don't know, we could get a repeat of that, but watch out.
I mean, doesn't matter if you contain your opponent to 0, then you're gonna win, right? Doesn't matter how many you get.
That is right.
But it's not been a high-scoring game throughout. It's been incredibly respectful from both sides, and the level of skill is through the roof, both mechanically and strategically. So they've both had very little mistakes in either one of these games. It's just come down to members of brilliance. Even on the last map, the frags maxter got were so carefully forged and largely came from the X factor of being a ranger. I think 2 of them came from the orbs or there or thereabouts.
Definitely.
Whereas vengeurR didn't have that at disposal. He had to force his way in the old school way. That was one of the key points of difference. And on this map, neither one of them has that X factor. It's going to come down to speed versus brawn.
And we are officially live with this matchup here. vengeurR is going to get a spawn that's going to allow him to get heavy. And look at that, LG coming out, then to the rail, quick switch, 1-2. And that is a great way for vengeurR to start. He immediately went to the middle, pulled out his rail after grabbing it from down below, and now is trying to set up for that first frag. So pretty much exactly what we thought might happen here. But vengeurR already looking, I would say, even a little bit more aggressive here in this opening matchup, and he gets it. He just eats all of the LG damage. He is very much in the danger zone, though. He's still going to grab that heavy. maxter knows that he can't push his luck there, and so he lands a rail, but then he immediately backs off, goes for that mega. That will put him back, but vengeurR on the board first with that first frag.
Yeah, you always end up miscalculating how much damage reduction there is and how low your opponent is in those situations. And maxter pushed it to the absolute limit. You have to remember, he's picked Anarchy into this scale. It's a very hard matchup for the Anarchy, so he clearly feels confident and has a game plan to counteract that. Not the best start, obviously, but he's kept scale in a manageable position. He has himself in position now for the Mega himself. So they will continue to trade items, but there's a big enough split for one of these two to take the initiative on the next round.
Yeah, I like what we're seeing from maxter here, playing, the back stairs for that rail, does land it. vengeurR is going to continue to hold on to the middle. He's going to let his opponent come up, and then there is the rocket to the rush. And it won't matter. He's not going to actually commit to that, but falls down below. Is going to end up giving up the heavy. He's got to make a way over to the Mega, which he does right now.
Doing it.
Jump up to the top.
No way.
Oh, maxter with the bounce off of the Mega, and then the rail for frag number 1, and we are tied.
That's what we said. There was enough time for someone to take the initiative, and maxter timed that to perfection. Question is, can he do it again? vengeurR comes barreling on 3 so low. maxter is too, but the inject saves the day. He's going to double back with the rail, doesn't hit it this time. vengeurR will be barreling on up to that high ground, trying to steal away the Mega. Doesn't want it to happen a second time. I don't think maxter's going to feel confident this time, but how did he hit 96 damage from there?
Wow. I don't even know. This has already been really impressive play that we've seen from both players. I like what we're doing, and once again there is like a little element of negation. Both players totally viable strategies. Up the jump pad on the follow with the bull rush into the rail, and vengeurR actually is not even sure which way he should go. He knows that that heavy is about to spawn. He narrowly dodges that rail as well. The rocket jump up to the top to the what? No way! No way!
What?
Oh my God, what a gamer. Two of the most amazing rails that we've seen yet here in Season 3. Holy shit.
Literally double railed that from 2 different positions, down below and up top. That was fucking mind-blowing.
And that's a 2-frag lead there for, oh my, how is this happening though? vengeurR though, with the rocket, and just enough splash damage there from maxter to kill himself, or it's going to be a 1-frag game, and we're tied again as vengeurR, knowing he can get a little aggressive, and now off the spawn lands the first rail and a second rail to take the lead yet again, 4-3, and that, I mean, so much just happened in the last 40 seconds, notwithstanding the like 3 conversion frags that vengeurR just got to put him back in this game, but I cannot believe that we just saw that from maxter. But vengeurR, in his own confidence, knew that he was going to be able to get that frag. Still the rails exchanging here, and this is a back and forth.
This is why I love scalebro games, DJ Wheat. It's such bullshit. And maxter is pushing it to the limit. I was about to say, I hope maxter doesn't get caught up in the intensity of the game, as he lost a few frags in that moment as well, as vengeurR was able to stabilize. But we're back to almost parity here, as vengeurR has the high ground, maxter has the item, and there'll be a big contest here over for the Mega, as they both know what it is. Huge rail coming out, the bull rush, but he still has the turn radius. vengeur's scalebearer has got better, not gonna lie.
I agree. Really impressive what we're seeing here, and frankly, like, I'm super impressed with maxter too. Not only is his ability to kind of keep his opponent zoned and a safe amount of space between the two, but the shots that he's been hitting have been great as well. It really is when, scalebearer is going in for that kiss of death, that maxter's finding himself like, I'm not really sure what I need to do here. Outside of that scenario, he seems like he's got an answer to everything that is happening right now, but that situation has put vengeurR into that 2-frag lead.
Yeah, and maxter has to be using the speed and the cornering potential, to be blunt, to outmaneuver his opponent. He can't afford to get caught into these mid-range encounters. He has to be using the rail, he has to be using the speed to get around the map quicker than his opponent. And that's exactly what he needs to do. And there you go, there's the trickiness of the Anarchy, getting into a better position than his opponent. But maxter on the ropes once again, as the scalebearer comes barreling on through, 5 HP. He will get away from there with the inject up, but the items have such a big split. He has to get this item. He can't afford to let the scalebearer get it, and there we go. He misses a crucial rail, though. as that will leave the door open for vengeurR to contest this next Mega, which is going to be a big item.
It was you know, Key Rail could have potentially given him another frag, although vengeurR was able to at least rearm off of that, and now waiting for, oh no, the rocket into the failed rush, but it won't matter. vengeurR is going to recover with that Mega. Now he's looking for his opponent, seeing if he can get that last shot, and he does. A rail around the corner. Great map awareness there. A super by vengeurR that's going to help him maintain that 2-frag lead.
That was a surprise bull rush that made my heart skip, but maxter's still in this game. It's an absolute bloodbath. Just need to... What vengeur's done well, though, is he's actually limited these rail encounters. Most of the rails that they're both taking are super quick peaks that require a lot of skill and luck to execute, whereas the opening, it was very much long-range one-on-one fights, and so vengeur's... He's able to force these close-range encounters. We've seen a lot of successful bull rushes, a lot of capability for vengeurR to close the gap. And so that's the concern from maxter's point of view.
I do like maxter also kind of favoring the LG in some of those situations. It's definitely netted him a couple of frags that, I mean, of course, he's also gotten bull rushed into oblivion while having that LG out too. But great example right there as he comes in, a lot of LG from the top and then finishes up with the rail. I mean, honestly, a great choice of weaponry right there. And that's exactly the kind of play that's going to try to put him back into a situation to take this one. Ooh, that was a little scary on that bull rush as he does get hit in the back, but somehow manages to get away. Mega up in 2. It is going to get grabbed there by maxter. Now maxter with a big opportunity here. 8 seconds until that heavy comes up. No armor stack for vengeurR. Could be an opportunity right here. vengeur's going to try to grab that 50 and then head back down to the lower. He's going to be too late though, and this will be the first time in a while that maxter's double down on both of the heavy items.
What vengeur's done such a good job of is just the double backs and the baiting into these doorways. Like running away there, he was super low, but using the speed to close the gap once again. How does he do this? He just pushes his champion to the absolute limit, goading the Anarchy into his zone of death.
Unreal. That was a hit confirmed bull rush, right? Like, I mean, the moment that rocket hit, he knew he was going to kind of get stuck to that corner. But then to come off such a beautiful frag like that, only to get LG down by maxter, you know, really goes to show that no one is safe here in this matchup. There is still 1 minute and 15 left, and 1 frag separates these two. Yes, vengeurR does have the lead, but maxter, he's got maybe the speed to bring it out. There's a nice rail. Gonna try to hit a second one. Unfortunately, that one does not hit. He's gonna have to reposition here. A beautiful rail on the defensive. vengeurR running away, but 1 minute left to go. It all comes down to this.
Really does. vengeur's on the ropes here as maxter's got him cornered. The bull rush comes out, but at what cost? He just stands like a turret. He whips him round. 3 seconds to the Mega, but he wants to put the pressure on now. He wants to end it before vengeurR can get anything to defend himself. Realizes he missed his chance, but he can't miss this heavy without contest, which he's going to do. So that's a big lifeline for vengeurR.
Yeah, unreal. And here we go. Was it going to be an LG battle to determine
why?
And it was maxter who wins that LG battle, suddenly putting the vengeurR on the back foot. I'm not sure if he just thought, I have to take this fight. I need this major item. I don't know, but there's the inject in the final seconds, and maxter is just going to run it out for the victory. 8-9, and I mean, unbelievable. You know, Dan's actually right. Dramas beats Rafa. Like, what a day. maxter with an Are you mad about that one? Sorry. maxter with an incredible victory over vengeurR. Oh my God, like so much happened in that 10 minutes. Let's bring Flea back to discuss it. GG's to both players. Unreal. Flea.
Unreal indeed. Dan's reaction was wonderful too, just straight, absolutely no emotion when you said that about him being right for once. I also just loved the flair that maxter was bringing, you know, with some of his skills. I was watching the webcam, he lands a nice rail, he stops and he tips the camera with an invisible head. He's like, a little salute, like, I know, I'm the man, okay? But yeah, that was a very solid series overall. It started off from deep embrace, right? maxter making excellent use of the railgun, but Tweet, I think you even called it, vengeur's right hand, the LG, right? And he kind of played it the way that we saw it earlier as well. You close the gap, use the grapple hook to get close, and then the LG or the rockets clean up your opponent. Then maps 2, yeah, the orb and the rail by maxter. I think that really sums it up, right? With such beautiful, creative orbs as well, always putting himself in a good situation. Even though Strog is so much faster than him, it was really maxter who was controlling the pace of the game and who was staying back.
Dude, that frag was insane!
58% LG as well. Holy shit.
Oh my god. So I love that maxter put himself on the little guard railing up the stairs, just up against the wall. Literally watched vengeurR pass right by him like he missed the bus, and then he's like, well, screw you, bus. Here's an LG in the caboose. Unreal. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off with that.
No, we were just at the end anyways. It was just an overall beautiful series. The final map was a bit more of a brawl than the first two, right? Constant back and forth, neither playing willing to back down, and vengeurR making really good use of that bull rush most of the time, very rarely missing, almost always getting an advantage out of it. But indeed, there were some misplays, right? Like the one we just saw where he just ends up passing right on by, and then maxter is like, boo, here I am, and it all just ends up falling apart. And in the end, vengeurR, I think, perhaps a bit too aggressive at times, right? Dan, you said it. Didn't need to take that fight that sends the scoreline in maxter's favor. But overall, well played to both of these players. But maxter, a deserved win. He continues his undefeated streak.
I mean, maxter turned into the human version of Isen's turret right there. He just sat and just zipped him down. But I mean, that was an amazing series. The kind of strategy and skill in maps 1 and 2, and just, I think we should keep a rule where someone has to pay Scalebearer every series for that action in map 3. It was so fun. I think at the end, honestly, I think vengeurR was tilted to take some of those fights, just trying to push at his advantage.
Yeah.
But the first 7 or 8 minutes, the way in which he was able to double back and use the bull rush and make it effective against an Anarchy was remarkable. Like, he was baiting Anarchy into these choke points and then turning around and saying hi. It was just amazing. But at the end of the day, maxter kept his cool. After tipping his hat, he actually lost 4 frags. I think he cost himself that just for a second, but he got back into it. What can you say? We've had an amazing day of comebacks.
Well, I mean, maxter and vengeurR probably just grabbed 6 of the 10, shots of the week, top plays of the week. Definitely, I'm pretty sure we're going to see that the LG push, giving Scalebearer a little bit more momentum behind that bull rush. Unreal. Congrats to maxter. That's wild, and to think that vengeurR, previous season champion, is 3-3 so far in this season just goes to show how wild and crazy this new season is going to be.
It is indeed. And talking about wild and crazy, we're probably going to move on to the most wild and crazy matchup of the day. And if it's anything to match up the rest of them, you guys are in for a treat. It's going to be Kilson versus Razy after the break, to see if Kilson can carry on going undefeated.